Good afternoon. It's Thursday, February 13, 2025. Mental health is real. Seek help and the stigma. On the news this afternoon, death toll in Orazi gas explosion rises. NLC threatens shutdown, demands reversal of telecom tariff hike. Stakeholders speak as World marks Radio Day. On foreign scene, Hamas spokesperson says group eager to prevent collapse of Gaza peace deal. I'm Ifichukumoyle with the news. A total of 8 people have now died from the gas explosion in January at the Orazi area of Port Harcourt. Our correspondent visited the Rivers State University Teaching Hospital RSUTH on Wednesday and confirmed that 3 additional victims have died. The victims are Constance Ihuoma Aji, a male simply identified as Chidi, the owner of the gas shop, Adeshina Ayola, a phone technician, a teenager who worked at a boutique nearby, and a 6-year-old daughter of late Mr. Ayo, who also died from injuries sustained in the fire. Meanwhile, the 2-year-old boy fire victim in Eneka, Chris Xavier, has died from the burns injury he sustained. His father, Moses Xavier, told our correspondent that the child died at the University of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, UPTH.
My wife, the other one thought she died. They said the drunk down too much. They after the boy to do.
Recall that doctors at the hospital earlier said the boy suffered severe burns covering 40% of his body. Moving on now. A state high court sitting in Port Harcourt has convicted and sentenced one Eze Kingsley to death by hanging for the murder of late David Nwabara. As you may know, late David Nwabara was stabbed to death by Eze Kingsley, who was a conductor of a petroleum tanker on December 7, 2018 at Rumosi community along the East-West Road following an argument. The argument started when the late David Nwabara, who ran a mortuary, told the driver of the tanker to remove his tanker from his business place because it was obstructing his business. Delivering judgment on the matter, trial judge Justice Boma Diepiri held that the prosecution was able to prove his case beyond reasonable doubt. In a related development, a magistrate court in Port Harcourt presided over by Chief Magistrate Rosemary Ibanibo has withdrawn from a case of attempted murder and cultism against Dele Abobari, also known as Bob Satan. Ms. Abobari is accused of being involved in an attempted murder of the leader of the conscience of Ogoni people, Gani Toba, on March 12, 2023. When the matter came up in court, Chief Magistrate Rosemary Ibanibo cited the charges filed by the Department of Public Prosecution and ruled that the court lacked the authority to handle the case. She advised the suspect seek bail at the State High Court, which has the proper jurisdiction to decide on such matters. In other news, some political analysts have linked the ongoing political crisis in Rivers State to repeated betrayals among politicians driven by personal and economic interests. The executive director of Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa, Ezenwawago, spoke to correspondent Yobiruwada while reviewing the crisis and the numerous court cases that have followed.
Let us now be blunt. Dr. Odili, Right Honorable Amici, they were not friends. But they didn't end up as friends, did they? They did not end up as friends. So what was the fight? Until you answer that question, it's about control of resources. Oga, you don't control this thing when you did there. Allow me to, greet me, you go put another person. Is that not where the fight is? Why can't people just simply think? So consistently, the recurring word here is betrayal. What was it that you were doing that I betrayed you? It must have been economy. I am saying that fight has nothing to do with reverse people.
Dr. Wago, however, urged citizens to start holding politicians accountable for the state's resources.
The Rivers people must develop the capacity to first of all set up an agenda for themselves through what I call citizen charter of demand. That charter of demand is to say that all of you collectively, since 1999, you belong to the same political tradition. The thing that is causing quarrel among you is not that somebody took somebody's wife. It is your control of the resources that we own. And until you take your hand off it and concentrate on us, you will not have peace. It's not likely that they will ever settle. Let the owners of the what has been stolen come out and say, what you stole is our own.
In the meantime, a political analyst at the University of Port Harcourt, Obi Nwadim, says the reported suspension of the PDP Board of Trustees chairman, Adolfo Swabara, is not surprising as it is part of the ongoing struggle for control of the party at the national level. Speaking to correspondent Obiodowari, Dr. Nwadim explained that power players within the PDP are using such suspensions to checkmate rival camps.
It is the usual thing now. The quest for the structure of the party is part of politicking and party politics. Perhaps that was a measure to shake the other faction, and then you now see the other faction responding. Is the power or balance for the struggle for who gets the structure of the party at the end of the day? Suspension and the reaction to that suspension is not deepening the crisis in the party. The important thing is that when such issues are taken, at the end of the day, both parties will come to a compromise.
Dr. Obi Nwadim, who is a lecturer in the Department of Political and Administrative Studies, added that while outsiders may see this as a political crisis, party leaders will likely resolve their differences as the 2027 general elections approach.
These are the same friends. What people outside see as a crisis, the politicians themselves do not see it as a crisis. It's a normal thing within the political system. Don't be surprised that tomorrow you still see them eating on the same table, you still see them flying the same aircraft, you still see them, in the same platform and all that. So what a lot of people see outside as a crisis situation, to the crack politician, it is not a crisis situation, gain or to seek relevance within the political system.
On the spot, the director of the Center for Peace and Security Studies at the University of Port Harcourt, Martin Ifeanacho, warned that a crisis is hindering development in the state.
Rivers State can kickstart the industrial revolution in Nigeria. We have so many resources that we need to sit down and put together and then show to the world. But we are allowing things that do not matter to becloud our imagination. Why should you have violence in politics if we are a democratic nation? Do you know that there is a direct relationship between the monies that you stored in your house and the deaths that are occurring in hospitals? Do you know that you are literally strangulating little children and starving them because you have amassed more than what you need? Why? You want political power.
Professor Ifeanacho said the instability has created an environment that discourages investors.
It has come to the level where we say, can we live and let others live? Can our political elite live simply so that the poor can simply survive? Let us talk about sustainable development. Sustainable development says, take what your
in a statement signed by its National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba. The PDP NWC said that it is bound by the judgment of the Court of Appeal on the matter. It said it would send its resolution to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and other relevant bodies for recognition in accordance with the Court of Appeal's judgment. Still to come, stakeholders speak as World marks Radio Day. Stay with us.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
Welcome back, and now the rest of the news. The chairman of Ahoda West Local Government Area, Iyeko Igboro, has announced the postponement of the Ahoda West Local Government Area Empowerment Day scheduled for Friday, February 14th, 2025, and the Local Government Area Thanksgiving service slated for Sunday, 16th February 2025. In a statement by the Chief Press Secretary, Joe Esedi, the chairman said the postponement is due to official government responsibilities. The chairman said he remains focused on advancing the collective interests of the people of Ahoda West, while apologizing for any inconveniences the postponement may have caused. He said a new date for both events will be announced in due course. Away from that, as Valentine's Day draws close, a Roman Catholic priest, Walter Ihejirika, has provided insight into the historical and religious significance of St. Valentine's Day. Professor Ihejirika, who is also a professor of Development Communications and Media Studies, explained that the Roman Catholic Church honors Saint Valentine, who was a bishop and evangelizer martyred on February 14 during a period of intense Christian persecution. He said his tomb in Terni, Italy, became a pilgrimage site by the 5th century, later maintained by Benedictine monks, and over time his name became associated with love and couples sought his intercession for marriage.
Some saints have special devotions because of certain remarkable things in their history. In the case of St. Valentine, the remarkable thing is love. By the 5th century, his tomb had become a pilgrimage destination. So by the Middle Ages, devotion to St. Valentine was widespread throughout Europe due to the Benedictines. By then, his name was associated with love. Numerous engaged couples or young married couples sought the intercession of St. Valentine through prayer.
Now, while the Roman Catholic Church celebrates Valentine's Day as a devotion to Saint Valentine, the patron saint of love, many other Christian denominations do not formally observe it. Some churches use the occasion to teach about Christian relationships, sexual purity, and marriage, while others organize youth programs aimed at refocusing young minds on Jesus Christ. Co-pastor of Hilltop International Christian Center, Stephanie Owari, whose church has been at the forefront of Valentine's Day celebration in Port Harcourt City, spoke with our correspondent about what spurred her to start the celebration of Valentine's Day.
I kind of started it in this town, but next year will be 30 years in this thing, because first of all, if you look at the society, it was 14th February was a day used to destroy quite a lot of young girls. So many people are diverging that day, and people could be raped. A lot of clubbing, drunkenness is in the society. So if that is allowed in the society, and I have the very thought of cleansing the land, and that could be done in a right way.
Now, stakeholders at the 2025 National Condom Summit in Abuja have called for the local production of condoms to improve access to preventive measures against HIV and sexually transmitted infections, STIs, in Nigeria. They spoke on the occasion of International Condom Day, which is marked today. The day is observed annually on February 13th, a day before Valentine's Day, to promote safer sex practices and raise awareness about the importance of condoms in preventing sexually transmitted infections, STIs, including HIV, and unplanned pregnancies. This year's theme is Just Use It. Protect, Prevent, Empower. As the world marks Radio Day today, and former radio... As the world marks Radio Day today, former radio executive Adoratomi Bolade says radio still stands out as the most efficient and cost-effective medium for information dissemination. Mr. Bolade, former head of station at Cool Wazobia Info PH, spoke to our correspondent on this.
Of all the mediums we have right now, radio is probably closest to the common man. It's the easiest for the common man to access. So I believe that radio still has a huge role to play in terms of information dissemination, in terms of news dissemination. For a country like Nigeria, not many people will prioritize having data on their phone. You pay no extra cost to consume content from radio compared to the internet, compared to television, compared to newspapers.
He also shared his thoughts on the debate on whether podcasts should replace radio.
The way radio is designed, radio gives you an eclectic mix of content. You find a little music, you find a little news, you find health, you find business, and so on and so forth on radio. They don't compete with one another. A lot of podcasts are actually focused on specific areas. They have niche areas they focus on. Most radio stations, most radio formats have a more generalist approach, which is why they can appeal to a vast majority of audience all at the same time. Whereas a podcast has a slightly narrow view.
Another former radio executive, Blessing Olomo, also spoke.
I think that a lot of people realize that social media still has the potential to disseminate falsehood, and they are careful about that, especially those of the older generations like the millennials, and the Generation X and the baby boomers. They are more skeptical about the social media than the Generation Z. Easily consume content of social media without the worry about checks and balances. However, because of this human element, social media may not be able to take over traditional radio.
Some Gen Zs spoke on why they prefer social media over radio.
For years, I've not listened to radio, except if I'm just passing by a place like a house or an office or wherever. For me, it's not fun, like just hearing it. I prefer seeing it like on social media, maybe because videos. Sometimes I can not just listen to. Radio is boring. Like, I'm not seeing what they are talking about, like, just listen to it. That one is my mom and elders that used to do that one.
Yeah, I do, but once in a while. Maybe it's because of my kind of person. I'm more of a social media person, so I get my news from there. Most times I listen to radio probably if I'm in a car or maybe I enter a public transport and the radio is on. Yeah, I have to listen to radio when my phone was very bad. I do listen to it. I have a period of time I listen to radio.
I prefer social media to radio now. Because I didn't see on social media.
The year 2020 marked the 100th anniversary of commercial radio broadcasting, while 2024 marked 100 years of radio in Africa. This year's theme is Radio and Climate Change, emphasizing radio's role in disseminating crucial information about climate change, amplifying voices, advocating for environmental sustainability, and promoting eco-friendly practices. In business, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has issued a March 1st deadline for a total shutdown of operations of telecommunication companies if they do not reverse the 50% tariff increase. In entertainment, singer 2Baba has reportedly proposed to a member of the Edo State House of Assembly member, Natasha Osarawu. In a viral video on Thursday, 2Baba shared a warm hug with the lawmaker, sprayed money on her, and they both danced before he brought out a ring to put on her finger. In sports, Grammy Award-winning Nigerian singer Tems has joined the ownership group of the Major League Soccer (MS) in the U.S., San Diego FC. The American club said the singer acquired a stake in the club through the Leading Vibe, her company.
And now, we'll bring you news from around the world.
Hamas spokesperson Abdul Latif Al-Qano says the group is eager to prevent the collapse of the ceasefire deal in the Gaza Strip and to oblige Israel to fully implement it. This comes as Hamas officials are holding talks in Cairo as mediators Egypt and Qatar race against time to save the fragile ceasefire deal in Gaza. Earlier, Israel Defense Minister Israel Katz had threatened to resume war on Gaza, jeopardizing the release of 3 Israeli captives scheduled for Saturday. Meanwhile, the U.S. President Donald Trump says he will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin in Saudi Arabia for Ukraine peace talks.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
That's a wrap on the news this afternoon. Before we go, let's have a look at the major stories. Death toll in Orazi gas explosion has risen to 8. NLC has threatened a shutdown as they demand the reversal of telecom tariff hike. Stakeholders have spoken of the gains and challenges of radio as the world marked Radio Day today. On the foreign scene, Hamas spokesperson said the group is eager to prevent the collapse of the Gaza peace deal. The news was edited by Onyeka Chinwosu. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808-721-7215. I'm Ifechukwu Moyali. Many thanks for listening.